you have something called next week on. And all the players take turns saying one sentence from something you see next week on the show. So you might say, next week on, we see my twin brother falling from a cliff. And that's it, and we don't know what's going to happen. And then, you know, you go around the table. And the producer has to take that into account, and the players as well. Next session, this has to actually happen in some way. That's brilliant, and it's one of the best examples I've seen of cooperative, you know, storytelling, which still leaves room for interpretation and game master effects. So that's one of my favorites.
That's enough for nursery, so we may go with the other.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Other questions? Yeah, or comments? Or did you have your hand up?
No, but
yeah,
might as well.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit more about Society of Dreamers?
Yeah, definitely. I can show you a copy if you want. Yeah. Here it is. Oh, sorry, wrong game. We tried this one, yes. Society of Dreamers. Alright, this is, I said earlier, have you heard of a guy called Jack Chick? He had these Bible tracts. He has had one little comic called Dark Dungeons, which is about how evil and satanistic Dungeons and Dragons is. If he'd seen this game, he would have like a graphic novel about it.
Don't tell.
I'm going to tell. Yeah. Well, it's not actually, you know, what can I say? It has a lot of ritualistic and occult trappings in it. I don't really believe in any of this stuff, but at the start of the game you have a banishing ritual, you use a Ouija board to set scenes, you have like visioning techniques where you try to see things floating around in space and stuff like this. But that's all part of getting into the spirit of the game, because it's about a secret society in Europe in the 1800s called the Society of Dreamers, and they investigate phenomena in dreams. They investigate creatures that live in dreams called Nemocytes. Now the big trick of the game is that every game is different, because at the start of the game the players and the characters don't know what the Nemocytes are, and it's not defined in the game. You actually define it by playing the game. You start out by having childhood and youth scenes for each character before they actually meet and form the society. And in these scenes, and in later scenes, you can introduce facts about the Nemocyte. So let's say that your character will turn out to be a Hungarian journalist. And as a child, you're in Hungary, and you know, there's a war going on, and we have a scene at the front where you, for some reason, are abandoned as a child and crying. And while you're looking for food, you meet a man with a strange look in his eyes, and he talks about the creatures in his dreams that are looking through his eyes and see the world in flashes of red. And then we write down on a card, okay, Nemocytes look through our eyes and see the world in red. So then we have one fact about Nemocytes. Then each scene we can generate more of these fact cards. And in the last half of the game, we incorporate these cards. So that maybe later we have a totally different scene with a totally different character, where we once again see that the Nemocytes are seeing the world in flashes of red. Now what this does, it helps build a community in listening, because you have to listen to what all the other players are saying, you have to pay attention to what's going on with the Nemocytes. And you get this feeling of a real story, because being in corporation, for some reason, we really like that as humans. We really love it when things come back in the story. So it suddenly feels like it fits together and there's sense behind it. Even if we, you know, the mechanics are transparent, we know exactly as players what we're doing, but still we get this feeling of the story. It has other things as well. It's at the start of the game, you design your character by picking up 8 blank cards. On 2 of them you write gender, like or even you know, sexual orientation. So maybe you write male and female, or maybe you write homosexual and transgendered, or whatever. On 2 cards you write a nationality, like Hungarian or Russian. On 2 you write the starting age of the character, and on 2 you write something else, which I just forgot. Anyway, the point is that you draw to create your character. You draw 1 card from each stack. So by writing these cards, the players define what sort of characters you can meet and play in the game. And you get sometimes really weird characters, but you're allowed to switch 1 of the cards. The cool thing about letting players switch 1 of the cards means they accept all the other ones. I had a player once who he you know, when he got some cards and said 13-year-old Swedish bi-gendered heraldist, and I was like, okay, he won't play bi-gendered, it's not gonna happen. But he switched out Swedish, so he got English instead. And that meant that we have had, you know, as a group, then we had full permission from him to go for the transgender thing. So I pushed really hard on that in his scenes, you know, and I made that come to the forefront because it was an interesting issue. That worked really, really well. Amazing. So yeah, so there's a lot of little techniques that I've experimented with and found to work. This is what the game is about.
Thank you.
Welcome. You can, if you want, you can buy it from me or from Lulu or from Eero, so I can still watch it.
How much is it? How much?
12 euros.
Alright.
Alright. Any other questions?
Where do you draw the distinction between freeform live-action role-playing and improv acting?
Right, yeah, that's a good question. I have started to avoid all these definition debates because I've fought over so many definitions of immersion and indie and what is role-playing and what is art, etc. And they never, the only thing they do is help you sort out your own ideas, but you never arrive at anything. So I can say what I personally think, whatever. Between freeform and live action, personally I draw the line at live action role-playing games are usually more pre-planned and usually involve costume, usually involve, you know, getting characters on beforehand, more of that. Freeform is often more spontaneous and without costume and stuff like that. If we were going to do a freeform, I would just, you know, let's get on the floor here and do stuff. If we were going to do a LARP, I might write characters for you and give you custom instructions. Improv theater is, I went to an improv course for a while with a friend, one of the other Norwegian designers. And what I noticed was they have some cool techniques, but they're all about getting the laughs from the audience. So while techniques that I would use to make dramatic tension or prolong the game or some stuff, they put it in there just, you know, to make fun for people, which is cool, but it doesn't help me much because I don't do this for an audience except for the people who are in there. So, and it's also more of improv is also often more of a challenge sport thing. You know, it's like, okay, to be a banana that jumps on skis. Okay, yeah, fuck, let's do a scene about that. So, and I like a bit of that challenge aspect, but not so much that it becomes ridiculous. That's been a tuning thing in Society of Dreamers. How much can you make weird characters without getting ridiculous? Because you want some challenge, but not too much. So that's my personal answer to the distinction there, I guess. Any other questions? Yes.
Do you design, or when you design a game, do you think about how do you want players to play? Do you want to sort of, specifically, do you want them to play like inside their heads, or do you want them to conform to each other? So do you take that into account when you design a game?
Yes, very good question again, yes. I've started writing into my game what play style this game is aimed for. In Society of Dreamers, there's a page or two in the back that says, I've written this game for this style, If you do this, it will work. If you do other stuff, it might not work for you. So there's assumptions, and I think it's very good for a designer, especially like indie designers who experiment and come from different cultures. I think it's a good idea to write what you go for. Because I have some games that are like, zombie porn is about being outside your character. You're not supposed to be like immersing in zombie. You're supposed to like making do stupid things and fuck up the story, you know. But a Society of Dreamers is both, because you have two different things that happen in the game. Between each scene, you sit down and select the scene and maybe plan it a bit, and then you get up and freeform it with some instructions, and at that point you're supposed to be pretty much inside your character. So the switch between meta and immersion levels is there, but it's pretty explicit. Yes. Other questions?
You mentioned don't rest your head. Have you ever played it?
I don't think I mentioned it, because I haven't played it. Did I mention it?
Yeah, well, it was one of the references in whatever that game was. That was
The Warhammer game.
Yeah, the Warhammer game.
The Warhammer game. Box.
Oh yeah. Did I say it in the rest? Oh yeah, it was in there. Yeah. I know it's an indie game because it was on that list, but I haven't actually played it, so I don't know what it's like.
Yeah.
Other questions? Yes, no?
What about the game tomorrow?
Tomorrow, Love in the Time of Silence. Yeah, that's a dramatic Viking game with lots of love and sex and romance and intrigues and magic and war and deceit and stuff. So it's a very it's a very dramatic, tight little thing with predefined characters. So you just can't pick up a character, get an introduction, and play. There's a little tutorial in the games to teach you the specific methods of the game. The system is a lot about player communication and getting to listen to each other with specific phrases. So you have different phrases for different things. For example, if you're describing how your character is running through the woods and they're at the castle, that's cool. I'm like, okay, hey, more details. I can say more details. And then you describe some more about rushing through the woods because I want to focus on that scene. I want to see how your character is running. You'll tell me about the dew on the leaves and the wind in her hair and how the crows fly south, which is a bad omen and stuff like that. So you can fill in the details. Or I can say stuff like that won't be so easy, and then that will make someone draw a card and interpret it for you. Or it might say, for instance, yes and, or no and, or stuff like that. So if you say, I rush towards the castle to attack the king, and you interpret the card, you may say, no and, you actually don't get to the castle because the king's men stop you, they see you as an intruder, and, since this is extra bad, they take away the sword of your ancestors and your strength bearer. So you can do stuff to other players along the way, help them, hinder them, and that means that you have to listen to them the whole time, and you're always playing, you're always doing it. And the great thing about it is, as a group, you start defining what's cool and not in this game. When everyone wants to hear more details about specific things, then players naturally start adding details. If everyone's going for the random card drawing, then you get a different sort of group dynamic from that.